back to this course on yoga in education. In this course, we want to give you a glimpse about the evidence base that we have for bringing total personality development of the students. When I say total personality development, it encompasses not only the physical, but the mental, emotional, intellectual, with a spiritual basis. The question is, how do we bring evidence base? So we started this journey way back 1977-78, and we had done extensive research to bring about the changes measured quantitatively and show the result. The first, let us take up the physical personality development. What characterizes physical personality development? One is, you must have a lot of stamina, and our strength should be strong, and we must have dexterity and steadiness. So very simple psycho-physical tests are available to do these things. Let's take for stamina. What do we mean by stamina? You should have enough capacity for tolerance to environmental changes, whether it's heat or cold, or rain or no rain, increasing humidity, decreasing humidity, and the germs that are coming up, and pollution. These are all the changes that we face today. All these challenges that we face today have to be taken care of when we talk about the physical stamina development, physical personality development. How do we do that? For this we said our immune system should become very strong. If you want to develop that stamina, you must have that. So if we have that strong immune system, we can face any amount of germs that are coming out, trying to hit us and bring infectious diseases. The student should never become sick because of the infection. So yoga techniques were developed, and what we have to do is to maintain the homeostasis, give deep rest to the system, and bring autonomic balance. These are the ways by which we develop the immune system at the physiological level. Then the dimensions showed that when you give deep rest to the system, then the immune system blossoms. How to do that? We have got the simple techniques of what we call as cyclic meditation. It's a judicious combination of asanas, simple breathing practices, and awareness development. We have shown that within 35 minutes, the metabolic rate can come down as much as 30%. And when our children practice, they will get very deep rest. When our children, students practice this, they get such deep rest that it is more than 3 times more than 6 hours of good sleep. Therefore, they feel very, very, very happy in this practice. That is how we have been able to build the immune system. Unfortunately, today in the education system, there is so much of tension, so much of stress, so much of anxiety, nervousness. As a result, there is no relaxation component. So we bring this relaxation component into the system by simple practices, asanas, relaxation, pranayama, slowing down of breath and calming down of the mind. This is how immune system been blossomed. Therefore, we have seen our children in our schools and colleges not to succumb to frequent infectious diseases. And what about the strength? By yoga, we have been able to show the strength is going to increase. Stamina and strength are going to come up nicely. For that, we have tests like what we call as hand grip strength. So here we had different groups and compared what is going to be the happen when we do the different practices. Supposing we do Nadi Shuddhi Pranayama or breath awareness as a control, and we use different mudras and Surya and Lom Vilom Pranayam and Chandra and Lom Vilom Pranayam. What are the things that is going to happen? We measured all these things and we have been able to show that the hand grip strength is going to increase. And as a result of that, your strength is going to increase. Yet another challenge that we face today in the education system is obesity. And this also has to be reduced. For that, the special pranayama, Surya Anulom Vilom Pranayam, right nostril breathing. Close the left, breathe in through the right, breathe out through the right. That is one round. Like that 27 rounds done 4 times a day is going to reduce their weight by about 2 kilograms in a month. And we adopted that. So the children who are obese, they started bringing their thing to normalcy. Similarly, children who are very weak, thin, we started using the opposite, Chandra Anulom Vilom Pranayam. Close the right nostril, breathe in through the left, breathe out through the left. And this started improving their stamina, their weight, and they started becoming normal. This is how we have been able to show by systematic use of special pranayamas that have been developed by our ancient culture. We have adopted that to bring about the normalcy in their weight. And this is how we have been able to show the results. See what are the result of SAB, CAB and other things that we see there. Then the dexterity. Your dexterity is measured by what we call as finger tapping speed. There's a finger tapping test that is there. You go on doing these things and you can measure the dexterity. So by yoga practice, what is going to happen is you increase the dexterity of the physical things. So you'll be able to write faster, you're able to do your works very effectively, and all this we have been able to show. So what we have been able to show is that by using yoga, the speed, what you call it, the motor speed increases, and that's what we have been able to show. And therefore the dexterity increases when we do the yoga practices. Then important is positive health. Prevention of disease and promotion of positive health by strengthening of the immune system. Day by day our children should be bubbling with joy, enthusiasm, energy, vitality, and not get depressed, not get anxious, not get lost. We have been able to show this thing. Another measure that we did is to show the lung capacity. We measured the lung function test, and we have been able to show that yoga can increase the lung capacity. For that we have slow deep breathing practices brought to them, and the pranayama dimension brought forth. By teaching them the slowing down of the breath, they were able to develop this lung capacity. Many of the children have a lot of problem with the respiration. Right from childhood, you must see their breathing becomes normal, breathing becomes slower, and breathing will bring about tremendous development of the lung capacity. All that we have been able to show, look at that result there we have. And this is how we have been able to bring forth the dimensions of the physical personality development. That is stamina building through immune system, the dexterity, the strength, the dimensions of normalizing the weight, and the children have blossomed so nicely. When our children in Arunachal Pradesh, they give the demonstration. They give the demonstration with such accuracy, such synchronization, continuous for 3 hours they do the practices. So when the defense personnel came, the chiefs, commanders, they came and saw our children doing such wonderful physical demonstrations. They were amazed. Even our Jawans cannot do this for such a long time without losing even a single step. Such is the beautiful development of the children that came up. And that is all due to the well-regulated, systematic practices of yoga. They do that not much long, about an hour every day is what they are going to learn, and do that systematically, and gradually they go on doing this. Then we come to the mental personality development. In the mental personality development, we have got the components. One is perception should increase, intellect should grow, the sharper mind, IQ should develop, the memory, all dimensions of memory should develop. These are the dimensions that we wanted to bring. Now we come to mental personality development. In this, we have included not only the development of the mind, but also the intellect and also the emotions. In that sense, this mental personality development we are going to look at has mental personality development, intellectual personality development, and emotional personality development. What is it that we have to do for mental personality development? First, perception. You should be able to perceive things better and better. You must develop a high level of sensitivity. That is the one that is needed. Then we have the memory, very important factor. For the students, it's very, very important the memory should do. Unfortunately, in the computer age, we don't emphasize so much on the memory. And we say, why should we develop our memory? We have got computer, we can use that, unfortunately. And memory is the most important thing to gain mastery over the mind, as is often said. So, the perception is measured by the simple test called as optical illusion. And we had the control trial. 30 in the yoga group, 30 in the control group. And we measured what are the changes that occurs. We have been able to show that the optical illusion is reduced because the perception becomes better and better. And in this, we have been able to show that there is an increased level of perception that they are able to do dimension. Then we have the supine rest that helps them to increase their perception capacities. We have been able to show this. Oxygen consumption is going to reduce in the MET program that we have been able to do. Important dimension also is the sense of touch, sense of heating. All these things also should develop. That means the special senses should develop and mastery and tolerance should start coming. And when we start doing that, some children are hyper. The mind is very, very fast. That has to be reduced. For that, we develop the techniques to reduce their hypersensitivity. Many of the ADHD children, when they come, they have got uncontrolled speed of the mind. And when they come here, even 10 days personality development camp, we have been able to show that in the beginning, they cannot lie down in Shavasana even for few seconds. 1 minute they cannot lie down. But with the practices that we had developed, at the end of 10 days, they nicely do Shavasana almost 30 minutes. The mind comes under the control. Uncontrolled speed of the mind starts coming down. For that we have various techniques, that the breathing, then the breathing practices, the pranayama and all that we have used, and therefore the hypersensitivity reflexes are reduced in this dimension to come. The critical flicker fusion test, that shows the frequency at which the particular flickering light is perceived nicely. By this test, we are able to find out the personality dimension. And by this, the illusion is going to reduce and perception is going to improve. We have been able to show. Yoga and the control group, we have been able to show this dimension. This is how the perception increases. Development takes place in the whole dimension. And we can see that significantly better will be the yoga group compared to the control group in their dimension that we see there. And another test that we use is called maze learning. In this, we have been able to find out how the learning process start increasing in the whole counter. And we have been able to show in the control group the 30 days of program that we have developed compared to the yoga and the control group, randomized control trial. We have been able to show that the learning capacity is increased significantly. Then we come to intellectual personality development. What is needed is to see that the mind becomes very sharp, very intelligent. They should be able to grasp the things nicely. importance of concentration very well known. So what we did was to measure the IQ levels. As we know, the average IQ, that is defined as the mental age divided by the chronological age. If it is 100%, the person is normal. If IQ is 100, then he is normal. If it is less than that, let us say 90, then they are called slow learners. And if it is less than that, about 50, 60, they are mentally retarded. Severely mentally retarded have even just about 30 as the IQ. On the other side, when you increase IQ to 105, 110, their IQ levels are increasing, and the genius has about 120. This is the whole spectrum of IQ as has been established. So what we did was to actually measure the IQ in the school children things, in their academic performance started doing. So we had in Mysore Dasara, we had short-term yoga intervention. It was tested. It was only 5 days. So we gave them the integrated module, lectures, a little bit of asana, pranayam, cyclic meditation, krida yoga, all that, in which we have been able to show that the IQ dimensions develops. In school 1, we found we use what is called as the SLCT. It showed 7% increase. The wrong scoring reduced by about 41%, and the net score showed 9% improvement. That means concentration has increased. In such a short time of yoga intervention by reduced wrong scoring, we have been able to show. In school 2, the digital LST showed 47% significant improvement. That means their attention is getting sustained, has been shown by the sustained attention test, which is called as the DLST test. The attention span by the D2 test increased, which shows 10% improvement, while errors reduced by 50%. The locus of control, which shows an improvement of 5% in the personality, referring to the extent to which individual believes that they can control events that affect them. All these things being done nicely, and the students started developing. The IQ started developing. 13% increase in just 9 days we have been able to show. And therefore, we have been able to show that yoga can increase the IQ levels. So, intellectual personality development. And what about for the mentally retarded or slow learners? That also we did by using the yoga techniques, and the special yoga techniques measure the IQ levels of the mentally retarded children, slow learners. Where we will show in the control group, compared to control group, the yoga group has scored much higher. And in our school, we have been able to show that the severely mentally retarded become moderate, moderate will become mild, and mild will become normal by this process. Therefore, IQ can develop in that. So, then we have the memory development, immediate and long-term memory, right brain, spatial memory, left brain, word and number memory, verbal, auditory, yoga, useful for all these things we have been able to show. And for that, we have got the mental memory development, spatial memory we measured, and verbal memory we measured, and all these things we have been able to show that yoga can increase these dimensions very effectively. And therefore, memory we have been able to develop nicely. The most important is the emotional dimension. Must is the key. We all have the negative and the positive emotions. Negative emotions are known as the Asuri Sampad. Anger, greed, jealousy, hatred, infatuation, arrogance. Similarly, we have the positive virtues, loving others, sharing others, control over others, magnanimity, and giving more and more to others than what we receive. All this dimension. We have to see that our Daivi Sampad, all positive virtues start increasing, and the Asuri Sampad should start coming down. This is what should happen. And day by day, the children should be happier day by day. And this is how we started working on these things, and we have been able to show that emotional dimensions, the negative things like violence, uncontrolled speed of flow of thought, and kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, all started reducing as we measured these things. And the positive virtues started developing, compassion and love, for the animals, for the children surrounding. They all started developing maitri, the friendliness, and all the time being happy, mudita, and prema, love, to give more and more to others, and trupti, contentment. All these qualities started developing so nicely in the children, and we have been able to find even in the community home girls, we have been able to show that this dimension starts coming up. Normally we have found in the community girls, orphanages and other places, we found that their normal sympathetic arousal is much higher. That means their anxiety level, tension levels are much more compared to the normal. And by using the yoga, they have been able to find that they have become normal. This is the dimension that we have been able to show. And positive emotions start coming up nicely, and wonderfully development dimension that comes. So the whole idea is to see that you move from violent emotions reduction to the softer emotions and the good emotions to be developed. And this is what we have been able to show through this systematic study. And then we have been able to see that the devastating things like ego, arrogance, all had to be brought down, and the unnecessary exuberance have been reduced, and the stress dimensions have been reduced, and the confidence start developing, and the inferiority completion reduces. Inferiority that often takes over them, they are always shy nature, they have been able to reduce. In our 10 days personality development camp, there are many children who come like this, very shy, unable to talk to others and face people. But at the end of 10 days, they go into the stage and they are performing wonderful things. Such transformation take place. This all has been developed, and that is the dimension that we have been able to. Self-esteem develops, confidence develops. This is what we have been able to show in our things. And yoga for personality. That is, we wanted to find out the dimensions of the EPI, Eysenck's personality inventory. That is neuroticism and extroversion, and these things have to be normalized. Therefore, we see that by measuring the EPI questionnaire, their personality start developing. And the overall thing, also by Vedic personality inventory, we have been able to show that the dimension of tamas is reduced, rajas is controlled, and sattva starts coming up. We have been able to show. And the social dimensions start coming up. Yoga for health start improving, and the most important, spiritual dimension. What is that spiritual dimension? That is shanti, peace, and the having complete anchoring themselves into their original dimension. Yogastaha kuru karmani, it is said. Ananda, bliss, all the time being in happiness, you do the action. That is the dimension that many children imbibe. And each one of them have chosen their own Ishtadevatas for doing these things. And some people want to have very strong physical stamina, they take Hanuman as their thing. Somebody want to be very rich, Lakshmi is Aradhya Devata. They want to be very, very wise and wonderful, Saraswati. And they're an embodiment of love, they have Christ as their thing. And Bharat Mata could be another dimension. It's wonderful thing they take Swami Vivekananda. Children took different and then anchored themselves into their heart, and this will give them some tremendous capacity. They will never get depressed in the whole encounter. This is what we have been able to show by using the meditation. Yoga for awareness is going to come up that. So what happens in the whole encounter is you start tolerance, then from tolerance you start accepting, and then develop the respect. This is how you start growing, and the children have become wonderful things. Blissful awareness start coming up, contentment start, atma trupti start coming into them, and they start contributing more and more. So because we are all ananda basically, and we have to see that this ananda is promoted in our children, and by calming down of the mind, the silencing of the mind, this has been done. And this is how the total personality development has been able to achieve on all fronts, physical, mental, emotional, intellectual, and the evidence base shows that it is possible to develop this personality. And our schools, our colleges are examples of such wonderful development. Therefore, let us all imbibe these dimensions of total personality development by using yoga as a tool of purification, cleansing, and see that Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya koshas are cleansed, and we manifest the divinity within us. And that is India's great heritage, which had to be brought forth to our education system, and new India is emerging. Thanks to our Prime Minister, the entire dimension of education is getting transformed, and the education system is developing very nicely thanks to our MHRD minister and the whole team who has been propagating this dimension with scientific evidence. And once we have evidence, then the whole world will accept, and that is the dimension that we are taking up in this total personality development for education by bringing the dimension of yoga. I wish you all the best and good luck. Thank you.